Luka Doncic thinks the Lakers can win a championship with the current roster. We've got 3 teams that are in front of the Lakers right now, their biggest threats. 5 players are going to be traded in the NFL this offseason. Matthew Stafford trade rumors. Will the Rams start a new era without Stafford? And the Yankees, they lift their dated, bearded policy. All that more coming up next on a jam-packed episode of The Big Lead. What is up, and welcome to The Big Lead. My name is Doug McCain, credentialed member of the media. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. I do NFL radio for Westwood One, and we got a jam-packed show. And today I'm actually joined by my man, Noel Sanchez. You guys know him, follow him, Noise by Noel. We're going to talk about his Oklahoma City Thunder pretty soon. We're going to talk about the NBA and all kinds of stuff, but let's get right into it. Actually, before we get into it, though, just a couple of reminders. If you're new to the channel, this is the Big Lead Podcast. This is where, for 1 hour a day, Monday through Friday, we talk about the biggest, hottest stories in the world of sports. If people are talking about it, we are talking about it too here on the Big Lead. You're going to find everything, the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, anything in the world of sports right here. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, but let's get right into it. This weekend, the Lakers got their best win of the season. Luka Doncic finally looked like Luka Doncic. You saw last week, people were showing photoshops of him in James Corden, that this is who he is, that this is not the Luka Doncic that we saw with the Dallas Mavericks, and JJ Redick saying it was the first blackout moment for Luka. And Luka Magic was here. It was apparent against the Nuggets that this is someone that can still help a team win a championship this season, that he looks healthy again. He looks happy again. I mean, Nick Wright said he was looking sad. It's not like he was sad, man. He was adjusting. This is someone who had just dropped $15-20 million on a house in Dallas, and he was shocked by the trade, but he looked fantastic. He played 31 minutes, had 32 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. It was a plus 20, 4 for 9 from beyond the arc, 10 for 22 from the field. And it was clear that this Lakers team got over a little bit of hump. And yes, it is a February game. It is a February game. You can't win a championship in February, but this Lakers team looked dominant at times. They went 123-100, and you had Dorian Finney-Smith, you had Vando, you had Rui being thrown at Jokic every single possession. I think that's really what won them that game. I mean, I'd never seen the Lakers deny Jokic the ball like that. But really the big talk after the game was, can the Lakers win a championship with this group? Luka Doncic said after the game that he thinks that they can, that is the goal. Luka said, our goal is to win the championship. That's our only goal. And I think we have the team for that. Obviously, the chemistry with me and the guys is going to take a little time. But as you saw today, I think it's getting better and better. Yeah. That is certainly how Lakers fans are feeling today. Yes, there's a little bit of a prisoner of the moment for that take, but still, I think that one thing that really stands out to me about the Lakers is your best player is now 25 and not 40. And when you have a Luka Doncic that just led a team to the finals last season in good shape, looking like the Luka of old, looking like the Luka that we saw last season during the playoffs, yes, there is no reason why the Lakers can't make a deep run. There is no reason why the Lakers can't be a threat in the Western Conference. And I think that the biggest takeaway, like I said, was the way they defended Jokic, the way that they defended as a whole, going zone, going man, mixing things up. That's going to be the biggest key to the Lakers. That's going to be the biggest key to if they can surprise in year one. You remember years back when they traded for Pau Gasol, a lot of people thought, okay, it's year one. Let's kind of get in the groove of it. And then Kobe has his Robin for the next couple of years. And then they just kept winning, and they found their groove early on, and the chemistry followed. And just like that, they're in the NBA Finals. Did they win that year? No, but they got very, very far. And I think the other parts too. I mean, you saw people posting it. I mean, Austin Reeves is actually older than Luka Doncic. Rui Hachimura, the way that he's played, the fact that you get production from more spots than we saw from this team in recent years. So I think that's the number one thing for me. Can they win? I absolutely think they can. I really do. I don't think there's any team out there that really terrifies you. No all-time transcendent, all-time great KD Warriors, Michael Jordan Bulls, Kobe Shaq Lakers. Those teams don't exist right now. Heatles, LeBron. I mean, those teams don't exist right now. So it's just a matter of, hey, your two best players are all-time greats. You got a guy in LeBron that it's tough to really gauge what LeBron's going to look like in the playoffs based on how he looks in the regular season. Yes, we've seen moments in the regular season where he still looks like King James. He still looks like a top 5 player. Does it look like that every single night? No. I mean, just a couple games ago against the Hornets, missed some big threes in big spots. You had the ESPN stat that mentioned him going 1 for 29 in clutch situations with 5 seconds or less. But now he doesn't have to be that guy. And this is a Lakers team now that has a big 3 plus Rui. You've got offense as no issue now. That's the thing too. Offense will not be an issue for the Lakers. And then on top of that, you got 3 great shot creators, 2 all-time greats. They're playing faster too. They're playing faster on offense, playing faster on defense without Anthony Davis. And they were forced to play that way with AD. Now with Luka Doncic, it just suits their current roster construction. So I certainly think that if you stay healthy, if the chemistry continues to build, there's no reason why the Lakers can't win a championship. And yes, Jackson Hayes, that's your essentially only lob threat. It doesn't look great for sure, but Doncic is such a great player that he just changes the conversation on everything. He just truly, truly does. So the answer is yes for me, but I'm bringing a Noel Sanchez. Noel, you saw the game. A lot of hype about the Lakers, a lot of prisoner of the moment. That's what happens in Lakerland. But can this Lakers team, led by Luka Doncic, LeBron James, compete for a title in year 1 with this group?
I think they absolutely can. I think this past game was a great telling of what this team could look like on a big stage against a team that has had recent historic success against the Lakers. I mean, there was like a 9-0, 10-0 streak that this team was on against LA, and it was just getting embarrassing. But you bring in Luka, someone who admitted that it hasn't been the easiest for him to maneuver from Dallas to LA right away. But at the end of the day, he's a big game player. He's ready to show up for these big moments. And you take a look at the Western Conference right now, you have teams at the top of the standings that haven't necessarily had enough experience in the postseason to really say that they're going to be the favorites to win the title. You have an OKC Thunder who are young, who are still getting their reps in. You have a Houston Rockets team who has young stars, but still haven't really proven anything. You also have Memphis Grizzlies who, as great as John Moran is, as great as the system they built around Jaren Jackson Jr. is, we saw them lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday. We saw them not be able to make shots down the stretch and really win these ball games. So I don't think any team in the West wants to see the Lakers at any point in the playoffs. I think it's going to be scary to see a Luka that's in shape, that has been able to adjust to JJ Redick's system, that is making the most of his wings. And I absolutely think that the Lakers have a decent shot to really compete, at least make a Western Conference Finals, and see where they stand among the rest of the West right now with a roster that is still going to be worked on this offseason. It would have been amazing to have Mark Williams. I think Mark Williams would have averaged the easiest 18 to 20 points of his life playing with Luka, playing with LeBron. But I think it's going to be super interesting. I'm really excited to see how this team comes together and how Austin Reeves continues to build off of his off-ball movement with LeBron and Luka.
Absolutely. I mean, all great points. I think you mentioned the Mark Williams thing. Hey, give me Dalton Connect that actually is playing versus a Mark Williams that has missed over 60% of the games in his career. I think the biggest question that the Lakers have now is just the buy-in from LeBron and his willingness to give the keys to this Lakers franchise to Luka Doncic. I mean, Rich Paul mentioned it on a podcast that had they known of this potential trade, it probably would not have gone down. And the fact that they worked in stealth and were able to pull something off, LeBron realizes that this really is his best chance to win a championship. The truth is, Luka Doncic is a better player than Anthony Davis. The better players you have, the better chance you have to win a championship. Now the next step for LeBron is to be okay with the ball in Luka's hands. I think the interesting thing was Luka's usage rate was extremely high, and he played just 31 minutes. So the Lakers are realizing that the ball in Luka's hands is their path to postseason success. And JJ Redick said it after the game, said, hey, that's the Luka I know. He said that in front of the team, pointing that out. And he also said, I think Luka needs to be the guy that controls the offense and brought in AR, Austin Reeves, because we're going to stagger everybody. They're going to have their times to be on the ball, but all three of those guys are very intelligent basketball players, and we can create mismatch. We can also put teams in a blender. So they're looking to create mismatches. They're looking to put teams in a blender, and you do that by having your 25-year-old superstar with the ball in his hands and not the 40-year-old superstar. So that is the biggest thing. And I think the other thing, too, is Darvin Ham to JJ Redick. I want to just put this on record right now. I want to take this L sooner than I have to. I want to write this apology form to JJ Redick. I was a massive doubter. I said, okay, LeBron is hiring his buddy, his podcast friend, and you're making this podcaster the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Is he really going to put in the time, the effort to hire the right staff, to make in-game adjustments, to not get worn down by one of the biggest pressure cooker jobs in all of professional sports, and that is being the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers? JJ Redick has got an A so far. An A for the way he's navigated some injuries early on, the way that he has kept LeBron James completely engaged. And now with Luka Doncic, he's got a guy that can take this team to the next level. And I love what he said about not sleeping after the Portland game. He said, quote, I pretty much haven't slept since we walked off the court in Portland. I just spent a lot of time in this game. Our staff spent a lot of time in this game. I envisioned our guys playing hard. They played harder than I could have envisioned. They battled tonight. Luka was great. He controlled the game when he had the ball in his hands, made some great decisions. So to hear that from your first-year head coach, it looks like Luka is special. It looks like Redick is special. It looks like this group together has the potential to do something special in year one. And you look at the success they've had so far and the fact that they're right near the top in the Western Conference. Just an update. They're only 2 games behind the Memphis Grizzlies, who lost Sunday. The Wolves lost Sunday. Lakers are closer to the 2-seeded team, the Grizzlies and the Nuggets, than the T-Wolves at 7. I mean, it's been a long time since we've been able to say that. And you're 4.5 games up of the Wolves, 3.5 games up of the Clippers. You still play the Clippers a few more times. So from a seeding standpoint, they're in a pretty decent spot. Now, one thing the Lakers are going to have to overcome, and I'm going to transition here to talk about the 3 teams that are in front of the Lakers right now as far as finals and championship contenders. Well, there is the famous Phil Jackson rule. And back in 2008, Mark Stein did an interview with Phil Jackson, and Phil Jackson talked about his 40-20 rule. And that is where he believed that a team isn't truly a championship contender, a legitimate bona fide championship contender, unless they win 40 games before they lose 20 games. And after this weekend, we have all the 40-20 teams set. Who are those 3 teams? Cleveland Cavaliers, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Boston Celtics. And there have only been 3 teams in NBA history that have won a title by breaking the 40-20 rule. That's the 05-06 Miami Heat, 03-04 Pistons, and 94-95 Houston Rockets. That's the lowest seed to ever win a championship. They won as the 6th seed. And just following the association this week, the Denver Nuggets, they lost to the Lakers. That was their 20th loss of the season. The Knicks, they got blown out, absolutely blown out. The Knicks are just bad against really good teams this season. They got smoked. That was their 20th loss. The Grizzlies, they lost to the Cavs. That was their 20th loss. All 3 of those teams sitting at 37-20. So yes, they could get to 40-20, but that 20th loss came before the 40th win. So we have not seen this rule broken in 19 years. So it actually is pretty accurate. So got to give the Zen Master Phil Jackson credit for this. So the Lakers would have to break that rule. Now, let's talk about the 3 teams. The 3 teams that are ahead of the Lakers in championship odds. And the first one is the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder have put together this incredible season. Young talent, versatile. They can do so many things on offense and defense. And they're now 10 games in the loss column ahead of the Grizzlies. 10 games. And they're 10 games in the loss column ahead of the 11th place Suns of the Grizzlies. So it's pretty crazy to see the lead they put together. And what's interesting about the Thunder is you're seeing this big lineup with Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein. They're absolutely dominant. They've outscored opponents by 17.5 per 100 possessions when they're both on the floor. So you're seeing the Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren lineup together, outscoring opponents by a large margin. And another thing that happened recently, too, is the Celtics, they're not the only team that's elite offensively and defensively. The Thunder have ratcheted up on both sides of the floor. They have scored 125.9 points per 100% possessions in their last 5 games. You're seeing the offense continue to spark up. You got Shea, Jalen Williams. The efficiency has been there. And after they beat Utah last week, they've improved to 27-1 with 20 straight wins against the 15 teams that are at or below 500. So they've dominated the average to bad teams this season. The question is, do they have the star power? Do they have the experience to get it done and win 4 rounds in the playoffs? And now you got the Lakers in the fold. But I still think that they're number one. They're the number one threat. They've been elite all season long. I mean, guys like Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins have contributed. Shea is the runaway for MVP. But we know that Noel's a big Thunder fan. Are you as high on the Thunder as I am, as far as them being the number one team to win a championship this season?
I mean, I think they've proven everything that they could outside of a postseason run. Their series last year against the Mavericks was interesting because, I mean, you had Luka just absolutely going crazy, and you had their trade deadline additions to just take them out. But I think they've taken another step this year, especially with Chet having missed so much time. The way they were able to hold down the fort, you added key veterans in Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein. You have an Isaiah Joe off the bench. You have another Jalen Williams, who's the other Jalen Williams on the team that is also very productive. I think you have a lot of pieces that make up. If you squint hard enough, you see other championship teams that have had a similar roster construction. And I think right now the 2 other teams in the East that they would likely go against if they made the finals, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics, you have a lot of pieces that will kind of match up well with their guys. You obviously got Jalen Williams going up against Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. You got SGA manning the fort at the 1 position, and then the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're going with the more traditional route, having 2 guards actually playing. You got 2 bigs in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So I really like what I've seen from OKC. I think it's going to be really key to see what they can do in the postseason, and you're going to see if they're able to make a stretch, they're going to be able to keep this younger core they have together. If not, you start looking into maybe moving some of those draft picks, swinging for a big trade, a big star. But I definitely agree with you. I think that they're definitely the favorite to come out of the West. And I do like their odds to actually go out of Boston Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I think from the Lakers standpoint, I mean, what they have going for them is that Luka Doncic owns the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah. And that has been the boogeyman for them. And if there's one guy they don't want to see on a better roster, it has to be the Lakers. And if they match up with the Lakers in a later round, that means the Lakers have already found something. They've already developed some confidence and some chemistry. And the deeper the Lakers get, the more you have to believe in their chances. So it almost feels like for the Thunder, you almost kind of feel like the Thunder of the early KD and Westbrook days, where it took them a couple of years and a couple of grueling losses to really get to where they wanted to go as far as finals appearances. They're never able to win the entire championship and hoist that Larry O, but still, I mean, the talent's there, and I think that just the depth too, and that double big lineup with Hartenstein and Chet has been massive. And I think it comes down to, I mean, does Shea lead the league in aura? I mean, I feel like I've never seen a team glaze. I mean, sorry guys, I hang out with a lot of the younger dudes here, but I've never seen a team glaze their superstar like they do Shea.
Yeah, those post-game interviews where they're
hilarious, though. I will say.
No, those post-game interviews where I know they were barking last year. They don't do it too much this year, but when they're just kind of like reacting and jumping to everything he says, and he literally has to tell them to like calm down. I just think that's hilarious. But I think it also shows just how close that team is. You need that tight-knit championship culture. And I think we saw it with that OKC team back in the day with Harden, with Russ, with KD, with Kendrick Perkins. And I think that's why it hurt so much when that team broke up, specifically the KD and Russ, because they had each other's backs. But I like it. I think they have a younger team. It feels like that AAU squad that just runs through everybody throughout the regular year. You go to nationals. So I'm really excited to see how they fare.
Yeah, and look, it's all about the roster. It really is. It's all about players that can help you win and help you lose. Like, I mean, talk about that Laker game. I mean, the Denver Nuggets, you know who they missed against the Lakers?
Who?
D'Angelo Russell. I mean, D'Angelo Russell.
Bruce Brown.
No, D'Angelo Russell. He's the Denver Nugget MVP.
Yeah.
They absolutely missed him in that loss. But yeah, so let's go to number 2. Number 2 is the Boston Celtics. Would Adam Silver jump for joy to get this matchup after the year he's had with the ratings decline? The Boston Celtics sitting at 41-6. They won 9 of their last 10 games. All 5 have been by at least 13 points. Last week, they were absolutely dominant. They trailed in their 2 games for just 85 seconds where they were trailing, and they led each of those 5 games by at least 24 points. And I think the big thing with the Boston Celtics is you're seeing them share the ball. You're seeing less your turn, my turn with Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, with the depth that they have built with Pritchard essentially looking like a 6th man of the year candidate. Look at the assist percentage last week. They've gone 9-1 their last 10. And they recorded assists on 67% of their field goals. That translates in the playoffs. That number is up to 8th in the league, up from 23rd. So that has been the goal for Joe Mazzulla, is to try to get the assists up. Jason Tatum had 19 in their 2 wins last week, where he was setting the career highs for assists per game. I mean, that's perfect for what they're trying to do. And also the Celtics defense continues to be great. 104.6 defensive rating per 100 possessions. I mean, that is definitely a mark that shows that this Boston Celtics team is still the reigning champions. I think that they would be one of the probably least compelling back-to-back champions that we've seen based on their roster, but you got to give them credit. I mean, they just continue to win. They have a system that works. And I mean, from a script writing standpoint, I want to see Lakers versus the Knicks. I mean, that'd be my dream finals right now. But Lakers Celtics is right there.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't take anything away from Boston. They built this roster over the past couple of years. They made big trades. They traded away guys that kind of were the heart of their team, like Marcus Smart. And yeah, I mean, when you have 2 wings that can play basketball the way that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum do, and you surround them with guards and bigs that can do a lot of multiple things, it's a scary sight for any team. They really, once they get a lead, they rarely blow it. Like you said, they trailed only for a little bit, and they just held on to their leads for the rest of the games. And looking out east, they're not going to have much trouble the first couple rounds. I think it's going to be pretty interesting if the Cavs go the full mile and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're going to get a really good matchup there because Cleveland took out Boston earlier this season. But pretty much the bread is their butter for them. They're going to do their thing, and they have everything set to actually make that run once again and defend their title. I think Celtics versus Lakers would be amazing. We almost got it about 2 years ago, so it would be cool if actually both teams were able to make it this year.
Absolutely. I think the big wild card is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, that's a team that you have length, you have athleticism. They've continued to improve their 3-point shooting. I think you've got a Donovan Mitchell that can make shots in big spots in the playoffs. You got a Evan Mobley, a Darius Garland. I think the Hunter addition as a wing that can get you almost 20 points off the bench. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers, so they're not going to make a ton of headlines. But I could easily see them for sure making the Eastern Conference Finals and kind of being that team that kind of makes it out of the East. And I know Adam Silver probably doesn't want that, but from a talent standpoint, I mean, they're just really, really good. If you look at the week they had last week, they allowed 106.4 points per 100 possessions in their last couple of weeks. That number is way up. The efficiency, the 3-point shooting in the last week has skyrocketed. I mean, they were 37.3% in the first 2 months of the season. That number has gone up. So that's what you need. You need great defense, the ability to hit threes, guys that can make shots in the clutch. I like the guard duo of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen as a formidable front court. DeAndre Hunter, a really nice addition, like I said. So, yeah, I mean, the Cavs, they're going to play 4 straight games against teams with losing records. So they got to stockpile those wins, and they're 12-1 since December against below 500 teams. So they're a lot like the Thunder in that they can beat up on bad teams. So those are 3 teams right there. It is the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Cavaliers. All those teams, I mean, I think Shea, has a MVP, can end up as a top 50 guy. Has certainly the potential to be that. Jason Tatum, right now he's probably, if you look at kind of the advanced stats, probably top 20 guy in the league at this point. You look at the Cavaliers, no future all-time greats. If there was a year that the Lakers could sneak into the finals after a big addition, it's got to be this year. And I don't know if you saw this too. Did you see a Rob Pelinka at the Warriors game?
Yeah, with
for
Nico
no reason.
Harrison.
Nico Harrison,
Yeah.
probably talking about how they can trade for Kyrie and Anthony Davis
Derek
for like
Lively.
Rui Hachimura and like a second round pick. That's the optics wise. If I'm Nico Harrison,
That was pretty comical.
I want him nowhere near me in that spot. Yeah. What was he thinking?
Yeah, no, that was insane. That's kind of just like rubbing it in the face of your fans. Like you're still greeting the guy in public that kind of threw your franchise over and just has people literally threatening you to kill you because you trade away the franchise star, threatening to commit crazy things. It's a horrible look, especially in public. I know they're friends. I know like this all started over a cup of coffee and they talk regularly, but doing that in public when there's a lot of cameras on you, it's pretty disrespectful.
I think at some point we're going to see Nico Harrison in a Lakers quarter zip. Like
Facts.
I said, I think he's going to be the first NBA executive to win NBA Executive of the Year for another team. He's going to be the Lakers Executive of the Year for pulling that trade off and working that miracle. Now, switching gears to the National Football League. Speaking of trades, by the way, anyone who thinks that a miracle trade can't happen, don't tell that to sports fans in Los Angeles. So Matthew Stafford, the trade buzz around him continues to grow. And basically every day that passes without a resolution to Matthew Stafford's situation with the Rams, speculation is going to grow. Now, to get you caught up, Matthew Stafford wants a new contract, and he does not have a lot of guaranteed money on his current deal. Last season, they restructured his deal that essentially made it a 1-year, $40 million contract. And for the next couple of seasons, guaranteed money is at a minimum. He's not going to play on that deal. So over the weekend, it was reported by Albert Breer that Matthew Stafford and his agent, Jimmy Sexton, they were given permission to meet with other teams to discuss a potential contract that they can offer him. Now, this is very different than saying, hey, you guys can go negotiate with other teams about a trade. That's not what that is. Essentially, what the Rams are doing is they're allowing other teams to set the market value for Matthew Stafford. Are teams willing to give him $50 million, $55 million, or considering his age, 37, considering the injury history, is it something closer to $45 million? That is what the Rams want to pay him, in the $45 to maybe $50 million range. But according to Peter Schrager, Matthew Stafford is seeking something larger than that. Schrager is saying that Matthew Stafford wants more than $50 million per year, which would be at least a $10 million raise in salary compared to his current deal, which has him at $40 million. But remember, there's not a lot of guaranteed money with that. So the more that this news comes out, the Rams don't love it. Matthew Stafford wants to get a deal done. So I do think there's a little bit of smoke here. I honestly do. I think a couple of weeks ago, I was not as inclined to dive into some of these rumors just because I felt like Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, having won a Super Bowl together, considering they were 14 yards away from winning a second playoff game and hosting the NFC Championship against a rookie quarterback at home, that they would try to run it back with this group. But the Rams essentially have to decide one thing. Do you want to start a new era with a new quarterback and begin the process of completely rebuilding at the quarterback position, whether it be you trade Matthew Stafford to the Giants, you get a high draft pick, and you trade down? Because they wouldn't select Jador Sanders. Jador Sanders is not viewed as an elite future quarterback. Next draft, though, the 2026 draft, you have Arch Manning. You have a better talent pool to pick from. So for the Rams would do, You trade down, get more picks, get a bridge quarterback that could potentially take you into the future, whether it be an Aaron Rodgers, whether it be bringing back Jimmy Garoppolo. That's a decision that they would have to make. But I do think that there is some smoke here because Rams general manager Les Snead, he mentioned a couple months ago that the Rams moving forward after Stafford would like to have a mobile quarterback. He said that it would be a, quote, cheat code. If you look at the trending position, if you look at where this quarterback position, the direction it's headed towards, it's mobility. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, list goes on and on. Most quarterbacks that are all-pro or pro bowlers aren't stationary, true pocket passing level quarterbacks. I mean, there are some, and they have special arms, guys like Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford, but this could be an opportunity for the Rams to move on. I think that at the end of the day, the Rams get a deal done with Matthew Stafford unless his camp is hell-bent on trying to get a top-of-the-market, top-5 quarterback deal, which I don't think is out there for him, and this will help them set the market for him. Now, speaking of other trades, I've got 5 quick trade candidates for the NFL this offseason. First one might surprise you, and that is DK Metcalf, wide receiver, Seattle Seahawks. He's entering the final year of his deal with the Seahawks. He really had an up and down season last year, getting a little older, fell behind Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle on the depth chart as far as targets. That's clearly JSN's offense at this point. He's just 27, so he could get a pretty decent market. I expect suitors, especially teams that need a red zone threat, want a big body, a guy that they can still feel good about targeting in big situations. I could absolutely see the Seahawks looking to move on from DJ Metcalf, especially too because you look at where the Seahawks are at as far as the running game. You got Zach Charbonnet, you got running backs there that they're trying to feature more. And McDonald is changing that offense in Seattle. So it's not the same style of offense we saw a couple years ago when Pete Carroll was at the helm. I mean, Kenneth Walker III, they're so high on him, and they're really trying to zig while the rest of the league is zagging, and they got JSN, who made the Pro Bowl this season. So DJ Metcalf could be that guy. Then kind of an obvious choice, number 2, Deebo Samuel. So wasn't a great year for Deebo Samuel in San Francisco. We kind of handled things in the media. I mean, the optics of him kind of yelling at special team guys and kickers, it just didn't feel great for him. And there have been reports out there that have indicated that he's been given permission to seek a trade partner. So the 49ers have a lot of things they need to do this offseason as far as their priority list, but you're not thinking of Deebo Samuel right now, right? You're thinking of trying to get an extension done with Brock Purdy after the 2 seasons with the injuries that Samuel's had. I think he's expendable. I truly do. I think that the versatility that he has, he's a very different type of wide receiver. Been in the league for 6 years. I think if you are the 49ers, you look at the year you had, now's the time to move on from Deebo Samuel. I think he can help a team, but I think that it's got a little stale with Deebo in San Francisco. Third, Kirk Cousins, the Falcons. Of course, they made the biggest headlines of the draft last season. Everyone thought the Falcons are insane. They're out of their mind. What is Atlanta doing by drafting Michael Penix Jr. and trading up to get him? A lot of doubt because they had just signed Kirk Cousins. Well, Kirk Cousins didn't have a good season. And yes, the trade would be tricky because he does have a no trade clause. So they would have to find a suitor that he would waive that for. But it makes all the sense in the world. Cousins can still be a professional NFL quarterback. I mean, is he one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the world? I think you'd certainly say that's the case. So look for Kirk Cousins to get traded. This one's very interesting to me that I was thinking of. T. Higgins. T. Higgins looks like a classic tag and trade guy. Last season, the Chiefs with L'Jarius Sneed, they tagged him, they traded him, and T. Higgins can certainly be that guy, a perfect tag and trade candidate, because the Bengals need to get talent around Joe Burrow. And if you're not going to pay T. Higgins, you have to find a way to maximize what he can give you in his return. And they're going to want more than just a comp pick. You got to get more than a compensatory pick for T. Higgins, who's going to be the best free agent receiver available. So if that's the case, that is the move for the Cincinnati Bengals. And you look at kind of what the Eagles did. I mean, look what the Eagles did last season. You went out there and you got a Saquon Barkley. Look what the Ravens did with a Derrick Henry. I mean, there's a lot of moves you can make where you don't always have to retain your guys and you can upgrade your offense around Joe Burrow. Last guy I think is interesting is Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, elite coming out of Ohio State, hasn't been in the greatest quarterback situation with the New York Jets. And there was some talk that he was going to force his way out of New York if he did not see what he wanted to see, which was Aaron Rodgers leaving the organization. So he's another guy that makes a lot of sense just because if he's not bought into what they're doing in New York, other teams know he has the potential to be a number one. So if the Jets are in full rebuild mode with new head coach Aaron Glenn, you already moved on from Aaron Rodgers. If Garrett Wilson isn't a part of your future long-term, might as well collect the assets and move on now. What must be done eventually should be done immediately. Okay, last thing we're going to get in here is the New York Yankees. I want to talk about this last week, but I was in Arizona for Dodgers spring training, and the Yankees have finally moved on from their archaic policy of forcing players to shave their beards. They could have a mustache. It's been in place since the 70s. And they released a whole statement. They had a whole press conference about it. Here's the statement from the Yankees managing general partner, Hal Steinbrenner, who said in a statement, "In recent weeks, I have spoken to a large number of former and current Yankees spanning several eras to elicit their perspectives on our long-standing facial hair and grooming policy, and I appreciate their earnest and varied feedback. These most recent conversations are an extension of ongoing internal dialogue that dates back several years. Ultimately, the final decision rests with me, and after great consideration, we will be amending our expectations to allow players and uniform personnel to have well-groomed beards moving forward. If the appropriate time to move beyond the familiar comfort area is in our former policy." So I thought after reading that, he was going to say all that, be like, "Nah, we're still rolling with it. We still got it in place." But that's pretty shocking to me. It feels like the Dodgers kind of broke the Yankees. It really does. All of a sudden, you got Dodgers players saying they crap down their leg, saying their defense is terrible, and now they're taking this policy that had kind of been pretty interesting for the Yankees for so long, and now it's gone. And I think that it started with Devin Williams, because I'm pretty sure Hal Steinbrenner took one look at Devin Williams and said, "Nah, I can't have a closer with negative aura." We thought that's kind of the thing. Look at that difference right there. He looks like a different human being. We saw what they did to Phil Bigford a couple years ago, and they took his beard away, but it just did not look right at all. And I think the hints were there when you saw Devin Williams show up to Yankees camp with a little scruff on the facial hair right there. But I really do wonder if Devin Williams had anything to do with this. But I mean, they're not, I wanted to also point this out too. They're not completely scraping the policy. They essentially amended it to allow well-groomed beards and mustaches. So I think it's a nice compromise. I really do. It's kind of a silly rule to begin with. There were some funny memes about it, by the way. Look at this. Look at this. Alex Verdugo. It says Yankees went 1 year of seeing Alex Verdugo without a beard and changed their whole policy. It wasn't the beard, bro. It was the bad chains.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the bad chains.
Thanks.
But that guy, dude, that's pretty, he needs the beard back.
Yeah.
He needs the beard back. I'm not mad at though. I mean, look, I shave every single day.
I was going to say, Doug, you play for the Yankees. I've never seen you with an inch of it.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. Like, my beard is like, I'm the opposite, bro. It takes my beard. It's the opposite. I lose any
You
aura I've
lose,
ever
you lose
had
aura with the beard.
With the beard, because it's It's patchy, it's red, it's black, it's sometimes like albino white in certain spots does not look good. I also thought this was a funny meme. Look at this. It says, how did the beards somehow make them lose even more aura? Okay, first of all, I just want to point out, I got to stand up for my guy, Garrett Cole here. They did him so dirty because he had a beard with the Pirates and the Astros. It didn't look that bad. They gave him like the crappiest goatee here. Aaron
Judge looks weird.
Aaron Judge looks crazy there.
I've gotten so used to seeing him just like super clean cut. He looks
Look
weird.
at Aaron Boone there.
Yeah, Aaron Boone.
That was hilarious.
Jeez. Wait, so they still can't have long hair though, right? Because I know like
it said it's amended, so I think it applies to the. That's a good point. I mean, because a lot of these dudes, they want the show flow.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they want. I mean, think about how many Dodgers really just couldn't be Yankees.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's very rare to see a completely like clean shaven. Like Tommy Edman would kind of work, but yeah, these dudes love to rock their beards. And what'd you say, Antonio, about this again?
Oh, what's up, guys? Yeah, definitely. It was Devin Williams that changed the whole thing, the whole policy. All the years, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Roger Maris, Thurman Munson. It was Devin Williams to change the policy. And,
it was.
And I got to say, I have a beard, and when I'm not wearing a beard, it looks terrible. So that sucks. But good for the Yankees. Good for Devin Williams. Get to keep a little beard,
It was a pretty silly policy to begin with. And I think, too, I mean, hey, you're a prospective free agent. You don't have to worry about this anymore. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Big Lead. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. If you're new to the channel, do me a huge favor, subscribe. This is going to be a journey here. We're going to start getting more interviews. The channel continues to grow. We're really close to 1,000 subscribers already. So if you haven't yet, subscribe. We're going to be talking about your teams, your favorite players, all year long, Monday through Friday. Start getting more reaction episodes. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's all sports, all the biggest stories, 24/7, 365 here on The Big Lead. And until next time, I'm out.